This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. The Cottage Grove Town Board will hold a public meeting beginning at 7 p.m. on Monday, December 20th, 2021 at Town Hall 4058 County Road Inn. You can also attend the meeting by GoToMeeting. We have a quorum present. The meeting was posted at the Town Hall and the website. Call the meeting to order and we'll stand for the flag pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You have the minutes from our December 6th meeting.
I'll move approval with, inserting the number 5 in item 2 business B, line 3. The correct expenses estimated at $5,541,149.01. And then the treasurer confirmed to me that the town did not qualify for this ARPA because while we did lose a little revenue, it was not enough to make any measurable difference on their charts,
We didn't lose any revenue according
according to them.
to their spreadsheet. Yeah.
Second. Motion by Williams, second by Duplay to approve minutes with the correction to 2B to $5,541,149.01. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Finance report and approval of bills.
Is that supposed to be like that?
I don't know, I was just wondering. You disconnect your camera?
Oh. There's nobody else on anyway.
I'll move approval of checks 35092 through 35120 be paid.
Motion by Duplay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Anders to approve checks 35092 through 35120 be paid. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. You also have in your packet the unaudited cash and investment balance of $2,269,198.80. And you have the November building permit.
Move approval of the building permits as presented. Second.
Motion by Anders, second by Duplay to approve the November building permits as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. And this week is our last week of meetings. So we have until what, the 31st?
The week after.
The 31st would be good, yeah.
31st?
31st, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Taxes are coming in a lot, yeah.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
And they are mailing them or dropping them in the box.
There's a lot of people that came in today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has everybody got their bills?
I just got mine.
I haven't got mine.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Mine came
Maybe
last
you're free this year.
Thursday.
Maybe I am.
I wouldn't bet on
Mine
it.
came last Thursday.
I wouldn't bet on it.
You're the first one that I've heard other than people that, moved or just bought or stuff like that. So
Nope.
you don't
See
get
it.
it
Linda's
tomorrow.
hiding it from you.
Your neighbor paid it.
Didn't come today.
It might have been put in another box by mistake.
That's
because
possible.
that has happened to us. In this last week, we've had 3.
Oh, really?
That's one thing I gotta say about my post lady. She is just
Yeah,
absolutely
she's the best.
awesome.
Linda.
I mean, there's-
She is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
she,
heard that about that route, yeah.
Yeah, she's good.
if everybody was like her, the
Mhm.
post office wouldn't have a lick of trouble.
Well, wait a couple more days.
Well, or email.
I have to submit the first round of taxes on January 3rd, which the office will be closed. So I'll be in here, so I might have to figure out when I'm gonna take my New Year's Day or Eve or whatever that is that I'm supposed to have today. So, yeah,
I'll be here that week, so any day that you
Okay.
are, it's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next item is public concerns, public's opportunity to speak to the town board about any subject that is not a specific agenda item. And we have none. Any road right-of-way permits?
One for charter out of Marlis Hope. We're gonna go underneath the road to hook up the Hummer House. New Hummer House with it.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other one is Great Lakes Research LLC, Mark. However, comes last and Brannister. They're gonna do a test dig, can dig, because they want to put a monopole up on East Gaston Road. But they have to do an archaeological dig first. Any remains
Whereabouts? How far out on East Gaston?
all the way out to our end of our, it's in our section, but it's pretty much towards
Just
the
before you
end.
get to the end of the. just-
It's on the map in there. Be easier to look at it. It's the last pole on the right side along that cornfield.
Yes.
There's-
Was there something found there before or what?
We don't know.
That's weird.
Honestly, I remember Phoebe Vaughan telling me that they used to live there and they did find archaeologically
Really?
when I-94 was built.
That's the only thing you'd have to, somebody would have had to, it's got to be on record somewhere then.
No.
I'd
No.
be surprised. They're gonna, he said they're gonna reuse the same area where that pole is sitting now. It's just they have to dig around the pole all the way kind of around it, do test digs
Yeah.
and see if they find anything. I mean, they're not making them dig very deep to check, so. So as of right now, it's just their test digging. It's not actually the placement of the pole yet.
Yeah.
So, but he does have all that in there. So if you guys wanted to see
How many
that.
holes is he gonna be drilling? Just the one?
Well, they're hand digging. They got a hand dig.
dig.
Mhm. They're all gonna be
How deep is
15
the
by
frost right
15.
now?
What's that?
How deep is the frost?
Not much.
Couple inches is all.
I'd move approval of the Charter Communications right-of-way permit for Violet's Hope and then also for the Alliant Energy for the dig on East Gaston.
Second.
Motion by Anders, second by Duplay to approve the 2 right-of-way permits for Spectrum and Alliant.
It's definitely for Alliant, yeah.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
I
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Christina's here for the review the November police activity.
Nothing really too much different than usual. Again, mainly traffic. I'd say maybe some more property checks. A lot of times in the summer, we see our property checks go up. And that's because a lot of people are on vacations. We're doing them through that. So that looks kind of inflated during the summertime. I'd say it's not quite as common during the winter. So I feel like a lot more of those property checks right now are, stuff people are calling in more often, or people are a little more aware with the recent thefts, things like that in the area. So I'd say those went up a little bit, not significantly, but in that aspect of things they did. The last time I was here, I know we kind of mentioned the stop signs on Damascus. And I mentioned, sitting down there, kind of taking a look. And the more I thought about it, the more I was kind of like, okay, an opinion is an opinion. it's a lot easier to go off of data, numbers, concrete thing, hard things, you know. So I don't have a whole bunch of numbers right now. A timeline maybe would be a little bit better if there's something you guys were thinking of, but I've picked a couple intersections along the way where I'll sit for X amount of time. Sometimes I only have 20 minutes because a call comes in. Sometimes I'm able to sit there for 45 and just keep track of the speeds, average amount, and then I can even probably talk to Noah and have him do charts or graphs or things to make them look nice and easy and pretty to understand, read. I was thinking that might work a little better for you guys or everyone to be able to make a determination whether that's a good plan or not. Is there a certain timeline that I have some now. I really don't feel like there's enough numbers to be comfortable with. I can absolutely get more. I can continue. I'd like to broaden the times of day that I do that because I realize you do it at the same time, you're going to keep getting the same information. So I'd like to kind of broaden that out a little bit and get you guys a little more information if that's sounds okay.
Look at doing anything until spring,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a problem then.
you know, either right before we put in speed bumps or we put in stop signs.
What's gonna be next? I mean, are we gonna put a
Roundabout.
dome over the road or?
Roundabouts.
Jeez.
All you gotta do, Mike, is go out there and convince all these idiots to stop speeding on our roads.
Yeah.
Is that going to be beneficial? Is that something you want me to keep doing, keep getting numbers, information, or is it not worth it?
What do you think?
I don't think it's worth it.
I don't know if
Okay.
it's worth it right now.
Okay.
You know, I mean, obviously, it's gonna be in the early morning and in the late afternoon are gonna be the two prime times. Because
And
that's when we
typically-
get most of the complaints.
And typically I check on at 5.
Yeah.
So even if I check straight on, get everything loaded and get down there, I think the earliest I've been able to start on that road and like start getting data was maybe like 5:15. So I do realize I'm missing, and I'd be willing to try and make the other times work, but if it's not worth it, let's not worry about it then, and I can get more at any point in time if someone just lets me know. Okay, wonderful.
Were you getting people speeding on Damascus?
No,
have
the
you given
average,
tickets,
so I averaged out the information I did have. And for the most part, the average of everything was 20 miles an hour. Taking everything. Obviously, sometimes there's lower ones that come in because they live down there, so they're gonna be turning off soon, so they're actually paying more attention. I think the highest one I ever got, I had 132 and 128.
Jesus.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So
I see you're breaking it down versus how much over a speeding ticket is now. Is that something new?
Yes.
Okay.
7 miles an hour, right?
No, it's like there's different categories.
No, on the
Yeah.
report there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Over
so I don't know
55
why
or-
he ran it different. I honestly am not sure. Because those categories are still the same as they were before. On the ticket thing. I'm not sure about this form though.
Used to just have speeding on it, right? Didn't it
It
before?
used to be
Oh,
just
because he's
speeding.
breaking them up by
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did know, okay, I did notice that last month too, and it threw me off a little bit, but I thought maybe I just was crazy or something, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I've noticed the last couple of months, he's been breaking them down. I think he's just getting more specific. That's just our tech guy doing that.
right.
Anything new on Brian?
Since it's a public forum, I'm not really gonna speak too much and respect his privacy. But I did get to go visit him last week and he's doing good. I know we're expecting some more updates in January, the start of January.
Or January, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd be more than happy to chat with any of you guys privately too.
And Beat Patrol was going to pick up his shifts for this month.
That honestly, so the last I checked, I have not been informed yet. I am-
That's what the Lieutenant told me he was going to do.
Whatever's
December.
approved.
That's what Lieutenant told me he was doing for December.
Is us pick it up?
The beat deputy from the
Oh.
southeast was gonna pick up Brian.
Okay. I will, honestly, it didn't come to me on the pipeline, I can ask. I mean, it's possible that I just wasn't aware.
Yeah.
It happens. But if we're not here, whoever's working the beat takes the call
Right.
by default every time anyways.
Kim, have you heard anything from Coverall on dates for waxing?
Nope.
Okay.
I still have not gotten back from the sheriff's office, the forms that they need to go do their fingerprinting. So,
Okay. Well, still working on waxing and stripping
Okay.
that floor.
Okay. The last update with the dates, are those still accurate?
we don't
Pardon?
have a date, no.
Oh,
We
okay.
don't have a
Jen
date
emailed me.
yet.
Okay, perfect.
I was hoping for the 8th, but I don't know if they're gonna make that.
Okay. Let us know. We'll have whatever you need moved.
Yeah.
Wax
Okay.
on, wax off.
Okay. Any
And-
questions?
Yeah, one quick one. Say when the southeast guy comes up to cover for us, when situation dictates, do they have your cell phone or do they just have their own cell? Typically,
They have what would be a beat cell phone
okay. all right.
for the sheriff's office.
Yeah, okay.
But those, typically the same one has its own beat phone for
Okay.
that beat.
No problem.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it, I guess. Merry Christmas, Happy
Yeah.
New Year.
You guys too.
Hopefully it's
Enjoy your
safe out there.
holidays.
Yes.
Stay warm, guys.
Okay,
So do you want to stay for this next thing, talking about the ticket amounts?
Oh, sure.
discuss and consider forfeiture amounts for the county's track system. Who didn't get a copy of them?
Yeah.
I didn't.
I didn't.
I had 2 copies.
I didn't either.
I thought I forfeitures and bail.
Oh, I did, maybe I did get that. Yes, I did.
Did you not get one?
Kim.
Oh, it's not, I separated them.
Oh, wait a minute, I did. Somebody else, we did.
Saturday afternoon, it's like, wow, I got it. Yeah, more information I did not need.
Yes.
So the reason that this is coming up is because normally we don't really know what tickets are written for, the court does. And I became aware of a ticket that I was surprised wasn't written for, it seemed to me to be a pretty substantial violation, and it was a class D, so it was a whatever class D. It should be 50 to 500 for the first violation, and it was written for 150. And so I was like, I would have thought it would have, if I was writing it, I would write it towards the top end of that and expect them to come into court and get it knocked down if they had an excuse why it happened or whatever. So anyway, I don't know what these local ordinance violations are in tracks. I've talked to the lieutenant about it, and he said, get to them what you would like, the board would like them to be, and he'll make that happen. So I just went through here, and this, I don't expect you to do this tonight, but just to figure out what you might want to do. I just went through and I gave you a copy of what our forfeitures actually are. And then I went through the ordinances and wrote down what class forfeiture the penalties are for each ordinance section, just to give you an idea. So it's really more something to think about, is like, for these various violations, what do you think a first offense should start out at? Should it be at the top of the class, or the middle, or the bottom, or what? Because right now, I don't think that's how it's represented in the county's track system necessarily.
Do we have an opinion from the judge if, say, we go to that, they write the ticket for the max, is that going to be a bigger load on the court system that
I don't know. I have not asked the judge that.
they'll want trials for, or will she just reduce it as,
She sees fit.
yeah,
Is she on the, no.
no.
No, but I think Nick is. So maybe she's there.
Hey, it's April. I'm here. I briefly heard your question. I was in a different room. Can you just repeat it for me so I make sure I understand exactly what your question is?
On the tracks versus our town forfeiture, should we be having tracks, have them write the forfeiture for the higher amount, middle, or the lower amount in our forfeiture list? And what effect would that have on your court system?
Yeah, I really can't give any advice on what you should or shouldn't do on setting forfeiture amounts. You already have a range to work in, and I have a range to work in, and the town prosecutor has a range to work in. So if you would have to kind of decide what you want your deputies to set as the forfeiture amounts, if that's what you want to do. But I really can't advise you on this is what it should be or shouldn't be. I don't think that would be appropriate for me to do.
You can't go up, right? Like if a ticket is written for 150, but the maximum would be 500, can you go higher than what it's initially written for?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay.
In some cases, I can. Yeah.
If they come to court, right?
If they go to, yeah, if they go to a trial and stuff, I have some leeway and some flexibility. Yeah, I can increase forfeiture amounts. Yeah. Yep. I typically probably would not. The standard practice is that you go down in most cases, but you can't go down. There's a minimum amount that you can go down to. So I really probably don't feel comfortable advising you on what you should and shouldn't do as far as setting a particular amount to advise the deputies to put in the track system.
Well, what do we
Sorry, I have
want
no help for that.
to ask her?
Question to us.
Well, that's what I think why wouldn't we?
Well, I think you might want to like take some time and go through all the different violations because some of them you might feel that way and some of them you might not.
Well, what are you saying? We've set the highest limit wrong?
No, but just I think that you might want to make sure you go through them all and realize what you're saying, I guess, before you just go highest limit each one.
Okay, so how did that affect the track system? They have our information, right?
Not necessarily.
They don't?
no.
So we're still sort of working on this thing, in other words.
Yeah.
So that would be the key to me, I would think, Whatever.
You want to table this and put it on the next agenda for you to review, and we can take action.
Maybe the second meeting in January, not the fourth.
Whichever you prefer.
So moved.
Second.
The table.
Motion by Anders, second by Fonger to table. No date specific.
Oh, we could do it on our next available board meeting if the, if we're slammed, I guess I would leave it to the clerk. If the first meeting of January's too busy, we could always postpone until
To
the,
the 17th.
yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Great.
Any other comments on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on. Discuss options for providing fire protection to potential commercial properties on North Star Road, that commercial development that we hopefully will have. I asked Nick to come and give us some information, and the chief is on also. Because it's my understanding, when you have a building that's 12,000 square feet or larger, you have to have it sprinkled. And we don't have water out there. are we going to provide something, or are we going to mandate that those buildings put in a well and a cistern like tank?
That is the case. So it depends on the type of buildings that are going to be out there. But so if it's a smaller commercial industrial that they don't meet, I don't know the exact code. If it's 1,200 square feet, it also goes by a volume standpoint. But whatever that, we'll just say 2,000. Just throw out an arbitrary number at the time being. So if they don't, let's say they're 2,000 square feet or less, they don't need one, so nothing to worry about. But there is going to be potentially some industries that may be out there that will exceed that threshold limit where they'll need some sort of sprinkler system. And to achieve that, it could be given by a well that's privately owned or publicly owned, but they would need some sort of storage to accommodate that. It's not uncommon to go both routes. We have seen industrial parks. We work with other municipalities that have industrial parks that are out in the townships or in municipality that are still with outside that water and well system. So these private individuals would have to, if they do meet that threshold, would have to figure out their own way, which would just be increasing their current well right now and more than likely having some sort of storage tank or cistern in their facility to accommodate a particular fire that may occur.
And that's what they ended up doing at the county shop out on EB.
Mm-hmm.
They have a well, and don't recall how big that tank is that they buried for water for fire protection.
Yeah, it would depend on the type of code and the size of the building. So there's a couple factors that come into play for that. Sometimes you may see them in certain buildings where you see a black tank up on top of the building. That could be it too, because it's outside. So they want to keep it warm because of frost and freezing during the winter time frame. If you're looking at it from going to a public side, installing your own well and storage tower is not cheap at all. Some rough numbers you're looking at is closer to that 2 million, potentially a little bit more for that. That's just a water tower. Yeah, a water tower alone is we just constructed one recently that was, construction alone was just slightly more than $1 million.
And that's not including any piping to fire hydrants along the roadway.
No, that is not. So
Is there any building out there right now that is close to that capacity or, closer
Well,
to
you
that
should say that.
upper limit?
So there's I'm not sure currently how it sits with the buildings out there. I don't know. I know the biggest building out there, I don't know what the size is or square foot. Obviously, every time you construct a new building, you have to go through state code and they oversee that. That's falls more in the architect side of the world versus the civil engineers. But it's quite possible. It depends on the type of industries that you want out there. You could, instead of building your own, maybe look at giving some sort of incentive to help them to upgrade their current well that they need to meet a fire system perspective. Because it is a hefty chunk of change looking at 2 million plus to construct that. And then you still have to look at it from the maintenance side. It's going to be stagnant water. So Dan and the guys will have to be cleaning it out, flushing it more regularly. During the winter time, since no one's going to be using it on a consistent basis for drinking water, showering water, you're looking at more maintenance, need an aeration system, a stirrating system to help reduce the likelihood of it freezing. So there is a lot more catches involved. One benefit you could say from your well is if you don't use it for currently drinking water, you don't have to get the chemical rooms and chemical set up, but who knows where the new board or 10 or 20 years down the road may alter that if you decide at this standpoint that you want a water tower and a well from a fire protection. So it's not.
If you just put in the cistern tank and a well, what's something like that cost?
You're saying per individual building that has to put their own? It's hard to say. It always falls back on the size of the building. That's going to dictate how big it needs to be in the storage capacity. And I would have to make some phone calls to get that a rough handle or idea on that, because that falls, like I said, more in an architect looking at designing it from their either volume or square foot, where they fall into that threshold where they need a sprinkler system. So, but we just drilled a well. We're drilling 2 right now in some other municipalities. Just the drilling alone, but these are going to be, obviously, they're feeding multiple size communities. The drilling alone for each of those around 300,000 just to drill down without a building.
But that was for a commercial well though, right?
Yeah, that was a public it's feeding multiple residents. Like I said, it's a big size well, but I'm just giving you some rough numbers because you're looking at it. You still need a hefty size well because it has to pump water up to the tower. So you're going to be needing a decent motor to get that pumped up. If you decide to go that
But
route.
also though, if you're talking of just a, oh, sorry.
So I said it's gonna have to be in a heated room and everything else then, right?
Yeah, for the well itself.
I mean, for the well and for the storage tank, because you can't.
Yeah, the storage.
Storage tank outside.
Yeah, storage tank can still be outside, but like I said, they're gonna have to come there flushing it, circulating the water a lot more, and it's gonna be a lot of ongoing maintenance, just like every tower you see. If you want to go the route and put it lower, it's looking more like a storage tank instead of tower, and those aren't they're doable, but they're not the best because then you're losing the pressure. So when you hook up to a fire hydrant hookup, or if it's hooked directly to the sprinkler system, if you have the water at a lower elevation, closer to the ground, you could say, it's very difficult for those sprinkler systems to work unless you add another booster station. So it's another piece of equipment, and it wouldn't be beneficial if you're going to do it. The best would just be have a water tower and well.
But you're talking about a town-owned piece of equipment. This is not on site. This is not
No, I know.
for an individual
I
property.
understand that.
Because you could get by with an individual well, I mean, and each property would have their own well to pump into their own tank for their own private, if you will,
Yes.
sprinkler system.
Yes, and they would have like a pressure tank and some sort of tank. That would not be the 300 for each individual. No. When I threw that 300, that was for a municipality that
That's the kind of
serves
thing we're looking at.
100 of people.
You're not gonna have a fire every day, maybe never.
No, but you got a plan for it.
Yes, but I'm saying, so you don't have to go nuts over a piece of equipment.
And what kind of brought this up is at the Plan Commission, there is a petitioner who wants to put in some boat storage down below, and he's building his buildings just like 100 square feet under the limit where you have to go ahead
And for the
and,
sprinkler system.
correct. And, I think part of this is driven upon, if we're that close, do we as a township perhaps look at, if you want to do something like that, at that size, you're going to put your own sprinkler system in or whatever fire protection system in to protect yourself because of the fact that, and especially,
Limit who may want to come.
well, true, which may be a good thing for the town because of the fact that it may keep the less desirable or the types of development in there that we don't want. Because the applicant that we're going to be talking about on Wednesday, as a comeback, he wants to have a whole bunch of buildings to store fully loaded boats with gasoline, boat storage in the wintertime. And his buildings are just under the state mandated size for sprinkler. And,
10 buildings,
huh?
10 buildings.
Yeah,
Any insurance company in that situation isn't gonna insure the guy. So he's gonna end up paying a ton of money for insurance if he doesn't have the sprinkler system. So, and that's what we would have to make sure that we have no liability for his building.
Right.
So, I mean, there's other ways of looking at this.
Well, maybe we want to take it and run it by our lawyer then.
Well, of course, you wouldn't have a guy with a tank of gas in there. He'd have to take the gas out.
no, they store them with the gas.
No,
in
but
it.
I'm saying,
Oh.
we would have to, that as part of the rules, you can't store gas in the building with storage boats, period. So I mean, there's rules we could put on top of this that Even if he wants to make it a little smaller or whatever, which is not a good idea, I wouldn't think. I'd rather,
No, but I thought it was something we
Yeah,
need to
no, I
start
agree.
having a discussion about as to what we can expect to get out there, and then how do we protect it?
yeah,
Because we only have the 2 tankers, and what, one's gonna be 3,500 gallons?
Yep.
The newest one. And the next one is 35 too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Both of them are 3,500 gallons.
but these are the kind of things we have to put on top of the guy. If he wants to do something like this and trying to shortcut a little bit, he's gonna pay, period. And we can make him pay.
Yeah, do we want to make him put in a cistern? Or do we want to put in a
Municipal style.
municipal style and charge it back to improvements to the landowner? I don't know.
We'd have to know more what it would cost, for a small building.
And that falls back on,
Small, what I mean, smaller building.
size and.
I think who's ever the architect is for the buildings that are being designed, I would think that they would have the resources to be able, was that a fair assessment?
Yeah, that should be, yeah, because they're in that industry and they're literally, that's what they do. That, like I said, that's outside our realm where we're looking at it from a whole public standpoint where we can design it from a fire protection and the streets wherever, each hydrant where it needs to be and so forth. But yeah, the architect who's designing it, they obviously know what that threshold is and the price increase
Right.
for that size of building. And that's why they're particularly designing, whoever that guy's architect is, just the right size.
Yeah, just to circumvent.
Yeah. So the question is, it doesn't really limit us into what industry or businesses would move out there, because we either do or don't be able to provide the fire protection. And I'm not sure if Nick if you're listening to us or not, if you want to chime in on the fire department's thoughts as to what we maybe should be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, basically right now, we're set up right now, basically, it would be considered, we'd be hauling water. We'd be using the 2 tenders, the 2 engines, and we'd be hauling our own water. If you're looking to develop that area into something larger, like we had kind of talked about, if you're trying to turn it into like a business park almost, then you may want to consider doing some kind of an infrastructure thing, like you're talking about a tower or a storage. But if you're really not going to develop that out and you're just getting a couple people that are looking at building stuff, then you'd almost be better off letting them do kind of the same setup that the county's doing, where they have their own well and their own cistern, and they're responsible for maintaining both of those items to provide fire protection.
Okay.
We're at such a low level, what we have out there now, that we could put rules in advance so we don't get in a situation where, leave it up to the owners, but they're gonna have to do it,
True, but then that may limit what we get out there too.
Well, yeah,
And we have to weigh that, I guess, and decide what do we want.
Well, this person that wants to build all these multiple barns or whatever, these
Yeah.
storage sheds, does he realize that? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
He must know this. So,
That's why he went under 12,000 square feet for buildings, so he didn't have to have a sprinkler system.
It's something I'm gonna throw out there, just brainstorming myself. If you want to incentivize it, but yet you want them to have fire protection, it might be something. It's like once you hit over that certain square feet, the town will pay 50,000 towards the well and cistern, you could say, instead of paying that 2 million chunk. That gives you a lot of businesses and still saves you a lot of income and no maintenance or anything, but yet then it still helps. I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm just throwing out an idea because that's a big price chunk of money, and that's at the low end. That doesn't include the piping along down the whole road, but it also depends on as Nick mentioned, the vision for that area as well.
We're not too far either from Little Door Creek. And I would hate to have to deal with DNR, but could we build a big enough pond and pump water from it into it to have available for fire protection?
You're going to have those situations where you need a pump on hand, but also that could easily freeze over during the winter time frame. So there's still a lot of maintenance involved. That would have to be looked at a little bit more, because obviously it's not drinking water. It's purely for a fire protection standpoint. I could see just pumping that. Depends. That pond would need to be pretty clean from that standpoint. But I would have to look into that a little bit more if that's something it's a little out of the ordinary. I'm not saying it's probably not possible, but I have to look into that one a little bit more.
I mean, when we built Glacial Drumlin, they put those recycling things in those ponds, right?
I don't remember that part.
I think they did, because I think there's three like shower heads or whatever, upside down shower heads, if you want to say, in that one big pond out there. They keep running 24/7.
Oh, even in the winter time?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I could see it in the summertime so they don't get LJ in that. I guess I've never noticed in spring.
It's not spraying, but it bubbles up.
Yeah.
But of course, we just bought a new water trailer too, didn't we? With a better pumper on it. So I mean, that's also consideration.
So it's something we need to think about and come up with what we're going to plan on, demand, or have a plan for doing something in the future. Because there would probably be grants available from that economic development thing that we listened to, if we wanted to write a grant, but you're taking your chances there on getting something awarded too.
They did just receive a bunch of money. That's how the town probably heard about it. So that is potential. One thing with typically the economic development grant is you have to have, a business, this current business that's coming in saying like, yes, I need this to help construct my building. Yeah. So it would be, you're looking at businesses that want to join writing letters to the town, or current businesses that are there saying, we want to expand, and this would help us expand by improving the safety and the fire protection for our building. So it would involve a little legwork and marketing to those potential businesses coming in, and the current businesses that are there, to give you a little bit of edge when you submit that.
I just hate the situation where you have private enterprise that needs us to give them money so they can build a building. It just it's like windmills, If it's such a great deal, how come it's subsidized?
Well, part of it is we're required to provide fire protection.
I got that.
And, we can hold 7,000 gallons with our two trucks, but how far 7,000 gallons goes, depending on what's.
Well, I can see us putting a rule on somebody that's going to build a building that they got to have a sprinkler, whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think all buildings have to have a sprinkler. Is it?
No,
like an open warehouse or something? Do you have to have a sprinkler?
It just depends on the square feet or volume of that particular building before they come in and have that sprinkler system, but also insurance providers ask those questions and increase their price when a building's constructed over there that doesn't have the fire, or nearest water that they're getting is over here 5 miles away, say hypothetically.
So it pretty much obligates them to do something on their property because they're going to pay exorbitant insurance.
Yep. So then they have, they know an insurance person or someone, because that insurance person is going to jack up the rates to insure them for the type of system or building they build. So even though this person may want to do 10 different buildings, it may be difficult to get an insurance provider, or the insurance provider is just going to jack up his rates. And
the building is a one-time cost, so
Yeah.
That's something that's, you're gonna take up in the
Yeah.
beginning.
Mhm.
And, yeah, we can't remember, this is not something that's gonna be done every month, that's gonna change. I mean, you put that system in, there it is, you gotta keep it up, you have to, period. And if you have to, when you get a loan to do your thing, you're gonna pay for it, you're gonna get the money for it, so. So I mean, there's no reason why we can't put, something on an individual owner doing something on his individual property. That's the way I see it.
Is there any way to, like, when you approve this at the plan commission, that you could make this like one of your conditions?
Yeah.
Can you say that?
Well, we'd have an ordinance, right? Wouldn't we, or something, or?
Yeah, we probably have to have Bill
Sure,
look at drafting something for us
Mhm.
for that specific area or however.
I don't think we know enough, price wise and anything, maybe it's not that much money. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was something we should
Mhm.
start talking about and thinking about. And if you want, I can keep putting this on once a month or every other month.
I think that's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Good idea.
Then maybe we can get some more information, like you said, and
Yeah.
Think about what we want out there and how we're going to provide that service.
What Mike said is what I've been wrestling with in my brain, that we need to, as I kind of envision, if I can even explain, that this is a stage thing, that he can't get permission for this what he wants if he hasn't demonstrated setting aside money and documented plans for.
yeah,
Sure, sure.
that he-
Absolutely.
That he shows us documentation and funding for this water system you're
Well,
describing, or
Cistern
we're gonna prove,
Cistern or
we're gonna
something.
prove the design.
right.
Yeah.
But we have to have proof that he's doing it, not just has a
Well,
design for it, so that we don't get
And we have
stuck.
to have something out there so that when they come and they look at this property, and look at what's needed, they see that right away. So it's
I
not
think
a
with-
surprise.
This one that you have, you've got him doing multiple buildings all under the threshold. And so the question is that okay? Or does the fact that there's multiple of them change the threshold
Yeah.
somehow?
And that would fall underneath state code too, because the state has their code for building construction wise for any, how close they are on one particular lot. So they're gonna be submitting all these to the state.
Many feet apart.
Well, they have submitted to the state
already
their
have.
plans already.
Yeah.
And all it said in there was
Yeah,
that the local fire department needs to be consulted.
Right.
Of course.
Does Dane County
they're-
have
they're
any
putting their,
regulation that there can only be X number of square feet within
Of coverage, lot coverage, yes, and they're fine on that.
there?
We already looked into that.
Okay.
According to the NFPA, 5,000 square feet or larger has to be sprinkled. And if I recall, weren't they like 4,800 or 4,200 square feet? It's the
Is
one,
that any kind of building?
commercial building, 5,000 square feet or larger. And that's as of December 10th, 2020. That's what I'm reading here on the internet. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, Nick. I'm just going by what I read.
so right now, the current code right now for general storage, which is what those buildings are, would be 12,000 square feet. And they're at like 11,800 and something. They're putting the buildings exactly 20 feet apart, which is the closest you can put them together and still meet code. So they're meeting the code, they're just putting it close. I think that this particular thing is coming up in the next item, talking about this particular property, but we did note some issues that we had with access to the buildings, which I could talk about in there if you'd like, but right now, from a paper standpoint, they don't need sprinklers but they're real close, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to table this and we'll continue discussing it
Second,
monthly or bi-monthly
monthly.
Monthly, at
Monthly.
least.
basis and see what we can come up with.
Because this guy's I can see this guy being a general problem right away.
Well, we're gonna run into it more often with the next one or the one after that. We need to know
Be
what to
ready.
tell them.
Or this builder
Upfront.
told them, hey, here's how you get around it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well, he did say that, the first
Yeah. So, I mean,
words out of
that's-
his mouth,
that's-
this isn't really quite, but we're gonna ask you to give us some consideration here. I mean, that was the developer, and that was the first words out of his mouth
yeah.
bef-
yeah. see,
without even
I don't-
introducing
I wouldn't
themselves.
even trust him.
Wow.
So it was motion by Duplass,
Yeah.
second by Williams, table for a month.
Month.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Nick.
Welcome.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Happy New Year. Maybe we'll see you next month with, RESOP will have something done for us.
I'm hoping, you need anything from me from the ARPA funds discussion or?
You can certainly stay for that. We can, I don't think this, discuss and consider approval of a certified survey map for 1834 Shadle Road will take very long.
This is the rezone that was already approved, so this
Yep.
is just the last step of that.
Cleans it up, makes it a lot better site.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Official map number 210586. Dated,
Motion by Anders, second by Williams to approve the CSM with the official map number 210586. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Poll workers. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Duplass,
My name's on the list, so I will abstain.
Second.
second by Fonger to approve the list of 2022 through 23 poll workers. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Abstain.
One abstention. Next item, discuss uses of ARPA fund. In looking at the frequently asked questions, I saw where nonprofits could receive some funds from the town.
Great.
I was wondering, historical,
Doesn't say exactly what it has to be, or
I guess why. I'm just,
do you have it there?
I have the frequently asked
Just
questions.
gonna bring it up, and I have them in front of me too. Which one was that? The 2.18 was the,
2.18?
that's the parks one.
6.1 then.
Maybe if I can get it. Water and sewer project.
there we go. There's our water tower.
What is it, 6?
Just kidding.
6.1 was.
You never know.
For water and
According to
sewer.
It must have been 218.
sewer and water, it is
Do
in the
they have
basement.
something in there for nonprofits?
I know that they do, I just can't remember what number.
What
Should I search for? You put nonprofits, and I'm pretty sure that.
I thought about Lions, but they're not a nonprofit.
You're not?
They're not a
Eight is
501c.
can nonprofits receive funds? Is that what you're looking for?
1.8? Okay.
What made you think of the Historical Society?
They're the only other nonprofit that I could think of that the town interacts with.
They got a lot of things they need to
Yeah.
work on.
Do they?
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of.
It's all volunteer, nobody's, if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get done. That's all.
Right.
How much were you looking to,
I
a buck?
don't know. don't know how much we can give them or.
Well, we'd have to get an idea from them, obviously, what projects they would like to do or.
Yeah, we could reach out to
Sure.
Dennis Bork
Yeah.
and see. Did you find it?
Yeah, I think it's that one.
1.8, which you probably can't see up there, but
You want to read it off?
Me. The question was, can nonprofit or private organizations receive funds? And it says yes. Can we transfer funds to a private nonprofit organization, a tribal organization, a public benefit corporation involved in transportation of passengers and cargo, or special purpose unit of state or local government? For funds, the same entities. Let's see. Sounds like-
clear as mud, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A transferee receiving a transfer from a recipient under section 602, 603 will be considered to be a subrecipient. Nothing's here really.
Makes sense. Great for government work.
I can't remember, there's one where it says, explains that they have to prove what they're using the funds for falls into the rule.
So look at 2.5. Is that what there's another mention of nonprofits on 2.5? Is that what you're talking about?
Could be.
Assistance to small business and nonprofits includes, but is not limited to, loans or grants to mitigate financial hardship, such as declines in revenues or impacts of periods of business closure, for example, by supporting payroll and benefit costs, cost to retain employees, mortgage, rent, utilities, other operating costs, loans, grants, or in-kind assistance to implement COVID-19 prevention or mitigation tactics. Technical assistance, counseling, or other services to assist with business planning. So that's, those are the two mentions of nonprofits in this whole document if I search it. I think it goes back to just like we learned with economics, it's all got to go back to something to do with COVID. So does the historical have anything?
Well, one, you probably would have lost money because they couldn't have had their corn feeds, right?
Any kind of feeds for over a year,
Yeah.
So then
They
is
would probably
that's
have to
how they,
document that.
economic hardship.
that's how
because
they've
of that.
been funding their operating costs. So
That would be one of the reasons,
I would certainly think they would be eligible and in need of.
Donations, for
We can all.
during the fair and stuff, when it was open.
Yeah.
So you
Where
would
was
need
that?
them to demonstrate to you somehow how much revenue they lost because they couldn't have their usual events, I guess.
Right. So should we ask
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Dennis if he could come up with what that dollar amount might have been and
It still might be.
still
It
might be
going on in the
that we
future.
could
So
then
Mhm.
use those ARPA funds to replace
That'd be good.
that for them to make them whole.
Now, how does it go? I mean, if we approve it, does it have to go up anywhere higher or is somebody gonna be monitoring the funds or what?
We
You have to report it. Yeah,
That we did it, basically.
yes.
Not gonna be 180 pages, that's my only concern about all this stuff.
I know we have to report it. I
Right.
don't know if they have to report anything.
Well, I would
guess
think
they
that the
probably
government would want them to report it, self-report it.
Well, it says here, a transferee receiving a transfer from a recipient will be considered to be a subrecipient and will be expected to comply with all subrecipient reporting requirements. So they wouldn't have some record, but it's going to be like anything else you might choose to use this money for. You can use it and then you're going to submit that you used it and then somebody's going to decide if you should have used it for that. And if they decide that you shouldn't have,
Typical.
you might not get, you might have to give it back, basically. So,
And I don't think we need to go into that nightmare scenario. I mean, if we give somebody $50,000 and they use it, and then we say, now, don't forget to report this, is the government gonna come back down on us?
I think that we offer it and they can make that choice, themselves.
Yeah,
No, they report every year,
Be upfront and
so did you also say that other than nonprofits, that for-profit businesses, if they lost funds,
Small
Lions might
businesses
fit
and
in
nonprofits.
that then, wouldn't they?
could likely be, it's very possible.
Because they weren't able to do their parades.
Mhm.
I don't know what other,
Well, I don't think in the last year they never got to do their 50-50, where the thing
Yeah.
every 10 numbers got money and all that
All
kind of
days.
stuff. Yeah, they lost that one too.
The Lions, they're not a nonprofit,
no, they're
That
not,
surprised me.
they're not a 501c.
so I don't know what they would be considered, because they're not really a business either. Are they?
Check that out. See, maybe there's some other 501 something.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of them.
I mean, you gotta also think about, if you start going that direction, what businesses do you have that are gonna, where do you start cutting
Yeah.
that off?
Right.
I see these ARPA funds as being.
But I guess I thought the historical being a nonprofit would be a logical and good place to maybe let them recoup what they lost because of the COVID. And I don't know if anybody has any other thoughts.
Yeah, well, so what are they looking at?
Ask them to see where they're at and, what kind of monies we're talking and.
But they're down and, from 2019 and
We could just email him and ask him if he wants to come in and talk about it.
Okay. Yep.
Does anybody have any other thoughts of where we can use ARPA funds?
well, wasn't he gonna mention something about it or something?
Yeah, I would like to. That's why I stuck around. So, right when it was brought up, you mentioned the well or tower using it towards, well, what we read into it wouldn't qualify for those because they look at it underneath, it has to follow the same guidelines as a clean water fund or a safe drinking. And those are both grant programs / loan programs underneath the DNR kind of umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
And a new water tower and a new well would not qualify those because they are new, they're not currently existing.
Right.
It doesn't benefit from the safe drinking standpoint. Then also from a stormwater perspective, there is some potential there that could be used throughout the township, but it always looks at water quality, improving water quality in a stance. And that could be, let's say out from that particular roadway, you want to build a big stormwater management pond for any new buildings that get constructed. That would be qualified underneath stormwater because it does improve water quality for any of those new buildings.
You're making those companies put those in.
Yep, yeah, I'm not saying, I was just throwing out idea.
But we could use ARPA money for that?
Yeah, like a centralized pond instead of them doing it themselves. You have a centralized pond that you construct, but then you would need the land obviously and so forth. But that's one area you could potentially use it towards. So I'm just looking at it from a sanitary sewer, water main, and a storm sewer, just what we've looked a lot into the ARPA areas. And for the municipalities that have used it, it's been a pretty simple standard and policy, requesting those funds because it's more internal. You're requesting them from yourself, but obviously it's been brought up multiple times as what happens a year down the road that it becomes reviewed. And then someone says, well, this doesn't kind of qualify in the gray area, which a lot of it's pretty gray from that standpoint. So
Because we haven't gotten any answers out of the government on how we can use these funds other than the first.
Just what's printed out there.
yeah.
We are looking at maybe doing something on Koshkonong Creek for reduce flooding and to improve the water quality. We're having the university city with It's part of UW. Give us a proposal on doing a study.
Yeah, and it's,
Town of Sun Prairie, or City of Sun Prairie, Town of Cottage Grove, and Town of Deerfield in our stretch to improve the flow and the quality of the water.
yeah, so if you obviously cut the banks back, add riprap too, you could say, yes, you're improving the quality because now you're reducing the amount of phosphorus, which is reducing the erosion on the banks. So yeah, I could see that potentially qualifying underneath that standpoint.
Okay,
But I just wanted to give you those nuggets from the water, sanitary and storm, what we've dived into, even though there's potentially water you're talking about it, but just from our standpoint to inform you.
the other thing that they did have in there was for park shelters.
Yeah.
That was the 6.1,
That's the 2.1.
2.18.
Yeah.
We had
Improving
talked
outdoor
about
spaces.
shelters this spring. Is that something we want to consider and maybe send out in our annual report and have a survey done as to which parks they would want one?
I think so. I mean, I don't know why not. It's minimal cost on our part.
Put the question out.
Yeah, we could do a survey monkey like we
Yeah,
have
something like
in the
that.
past and find out if there's interest in that neighborhood, if they even want one.
Or even a big centralized one here.
Right.
Well, I mean, because we were gonna put in a park down by Christie's house, weren't we? And the people came up, no way, we don't want one.
Well,
No,
they
that
didn't want
was,
other people coming.
that
No, it
was
was
the
a-
driveway. They were
That's the
thinking about
driveway.
putting a driveway. That's what they
some
didn't want.
parking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was-
Didn't want a bunch
Didn't
of
wanna
people come
drive.
from other places.
Yeah.
Man, you can park on the road. I mean, there's plenty of place to park there.
Yeah.
Need a formal. Everything you've done is beautiful. We don't need more. It's good. It's just there today.
Well, I think back here, like Dan brought up, that if we put bathrooms in there or something and, made a nice area down there where
Down
people,
here.
yeah, right. I mean, something that's nice. We got the parking already. It's not like that's a big problem really, but I don't know what we need to, put down there. We need some bleachers, right?
I think I don't know about bleachers, but
Well,
if they put a shelter down there, I think it'd get used a lot.
I think a shelter would, yeah, big time.
They sit on the hill for watching the games. They actually, people kind of like it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. They put their blankets down and
So is that something you want us to
I don't see why not.
do with the annual report, is put that question out there and?
So basically you would be asking people if they would like a shelter in their local park, recognizing that it might be an attraction to
Outside out.
Other,
those coming out from outside their neighborhood. Do they want their park to become that? Find that out. And then also would they use
see a benefit.
a bigger, or would they be more interested in a shelter in a location like the town hall, and would they be willing to pay a rental fee for it, right? If
Yeah.
they were gonna reserve
A
it,
nice shelter.
yeah. And it would, probably with restrooms and electricity and
Electricity.
stuff. Because I mean, the shelters in the small parks wouldn't have that stuff.
No,
They just would be basically
basically a canopy.
It'd be like. what
pole
we-
sheds.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
basically.
But you want the people to research that kind of stuff on their own, So when they come in and say, yeah, we want one, they've researched this in their area, a little bit.
Well, that's why I think you can't just ask them, because their first
Yeah,
thing
I
would
mean,
be,
that's-
"Oh,
everybody's
I'd
gonna
like a
say yes,
shelter,"
yeah.
but then you need to think about, well, what will that mean for,
Yeah.
So it's somehow we need
We'll
to
have an increased traffic.
think about how it's introduced so that they really are thinking about what they're answering. Not to lead them really, but just to make sure that they're not,
They're thinking it all the way through.
yeah.
And we have to also recognize the increase in costs. You know, we were surprised with the sticker shock when we looked earlier this year, and costs have continued to go up.
Yeah.
The contractor that South Central Library System is working with, we met last Thursday, he said that the steel cost for a shed had gone up 30% from March of 2020 to November of 2021. Just,
Yeah, and that's only one component.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, Steve, exactly.
We're seeing about a 10 to 15% from last year to this year, just material and constructing stuff on a handful of projects. So there's prices definitely increasing.
Price has suddenly gone up.
Okay, anything else on ARPA funds? No. The park shelters and the annual
See you later.
report. Public Works.
I got nothing really new. We've been working on the court office. It's just gotta get the door handle done and the locks and stuff, and that'll be all set. Other than that, I mean, there hasn't been any snow to plow, so we've been trimming trees on roadsides. Keeping ourselves busy.
Good.
No snow for Christmas, they're saying.
No? Where?
Thank God.
Never have to stay, it's got tons.
Board reports and communications. I did receive a notice from City of Madison that they're going to be asking for urban service area for the new landfill and a bunch of the land to the north of it, if you want to. And they're gonna take in the garage, county garage and some stuff, so they're gonna be asking for that at Carpsey. And
Can I mention, call attention to the website that our clerk has updated, reminding town people to go and check their broadband internet speed to help Dane County.
yeah,
There's a news post both on the website and on Facebook to help out, what's it called? There's a committee at the county level that's trying to improve broadband, and they want everybody to do a speed test from their home location to demonstrate what the speeds are in everywhere. So yeah, take it.
I got Spectrum, it's fine.
Is there a way of doing that?
No.
Yeah,
but
there's
it's-
actually,
Frontier, as you probably know, it sucks.
Yeah, just go, you should have gotten an email because it went out in news and notices. But otherwise, go to the website, there's a post up and there's just a link there. You click that link, you give your address, and it does the test and sends the data up to them.
Really?
Yeah,
That was on the town
yep.
email?
It's one of the news and notices that went out to everybody, and then there's a post that's
Okay.
permanently out there.
It takes less than a minute. It's really fast. So
Well, it depends.
Yeah, if
you've got slow internet, it might be a while.
some people don't have fast internet.
Yeah.
sorry, I stand corrected.
Yeah, I got something for emergency government. Randy Gabers decided not to be on the committee, so he's just not happy. So,
Why is he not happy?
well, because of all the,
The city of Madison, the bond agreement.
So do we need to put out a? look
yeah,
for?
we're gotta look for somebody, anybody like to be on there.
the other thing, we just passed our 22 budget, and there is a change that is going to affect us for police, because the contract that they had originally agreed to, they redid it after we passed our budget. They went from a 3% to a 4% and a 5%.
Holy crap.
So we'll watch it and see how we go through how we are through the year, but we could cut some shifts to save money if we have to. The other thing is if Brian doesn't come back and we replace him, we would probably get a newer officer at a lesser wage, which might fix our problem, but it's something that we'll have to watch as we go through the year as to how that budget is being impacted because of that increase that they gave them.
How about there? Is there any impact because of COVID that they're doing this?
This was
Well,
late.
I would wonder,
Inflation.
Yeah.
Everything, cost of living raise.
Was the contract they negotiated with the union.
And it wasn't approved, apparently.
Well, I thought the 3-3 had been approved, but why they went back and did a 4-5?
What the captain told me was that it was approved, but then they reopened it for some other reason, and that was the result of it.
Jesus.
So it's something we'll have to watch as we progress through the
So
year.
it's affecting everybody.
Everybody that contracts, so,
And all of us taxpayers for the rest of the
And
sheriff's
the
department.
taxpayers,
yeah.
Hmm.
So that was all that I had for that. Committee reports, Deer Grove VMS.
We're going to get our study that we all talked about earlier in the year. We'll get the report back on the 18th of January. We're having a special meeting.
I think we should have an equity report too. Just thought I'd throw that out. You guys don't have to do that.
Okay. Last
I move
time,
we adjourn.
Second,
motion by Duplace, second by Williams, non-debatable. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
We just had 3 meetings this month, right? 2 town
Two.
board and the
Yeah.
other thing. Hey,
Yeah.
Deb,
And the other